Not all fairy tales bring comfort. Some twist, loop, and open doors best left closed. Fairy Tales That Should Not Be Read is a collection of strange, whimsical, and slightly unsettling stories. They don't give easy answers. They make you think. They don't entertain. They transform. Why shouldn't they be read? Because they linger. Because they change you. Step into a world where reality bends. Listen carefully. The Tangled Ball of Panic and Inspector Calm. Anxiety doesn't always have a reason, but it always has the power to tie us up in knots of doubt, fear, and endless what-ifs. The Tangled Ball of Panic and Inspector Calm is a metaphorical fairy tale that takes you to a world where anxiety is a ball of threads wrapping itself around its owner, and calm arrives as an inspector demanding a license for worry. This story will help you see anxiety from a new perspective, as something that doesn't control you, but merely whispers in your ear. You'll learn how to question its warnings, unravel the threads of fear, and take your first deep breath of peace. If you struggle with panic attacks, constant tension, or overthinking, this tale will show you that even the tightest knot of worry can be set aside. Tune into Fairy Tales That Should Not Be Read for stories that change how you see the world. The Tangled Ball of Panic and Inspector Calm. In a town where roads never led where they were supposed to and clocks always showed the worst possible time, there lived Mr. Whatifigan. Long ago, Mr. Whatifigan carried nothing extra with him. He would wake up, get dressed, step into the world, and never worried about what might go wrong. But one day, he overheard a passing gentleman in a top hat say, "The cautious are always protected." That seemed wise. Then another acquaintance added, "If you expect the worst, it won't catch you off guard." Before he knew it, a tiny thread appeared in his pocket. He carefully rolled it into a small ball and decided to keep it always within reach, just in case he needed to remember every possible danger. Over the years, the ball grew. It absorbed all his fears, all the what-ifs, all the "but maybe." It was warm and sticky, wrapping around him gently but tightly. Every morning, the ball of panic was already waiting in his bed, ready to whisper about all the disasters ahead. A morning like every other Mr. Whatifigan's mornings always started the same way. He opened his eyes. He thought, what if something goes wrong today? The ball of panic immediately coiled around him. "Don't touch me," it squeaked, squeezing his heart. "I was just lying here, but now that you're awake, oh dear, we're in big trouble." "What trouble?" Mr. Whatifigan went cold. "I don't know yet, but there must be some." And the ball of panic began tying his hands and feet with threads of worry. What if something bad happens today? What if you forget something important? What if nobody actually likes you, but they're too polite to say so? You're already feeling strange, aren't you? Breathing feels tight. Legs feel weak. Oh, this is serious. And soon, Mr. Whatifigan was curled up in bed, clutching his head, while the ball of panic swelled with satisfaction. This happened every single day. Until one morning, there was a knock at the door. Why did Inspector Calm arrive? Nobody quite knows how the Bureau of Calm operates. Some say their inspectors are always standing nearby, waiting for someone to call them. Others believe they are summoned by whispers too quiet to be heard. But in this case, it happened like this. The night before, Mr. Whatifigan could not sleep because the ball of panic was unraveling dreadful scenarios. What if you forget something crucial? What if everyone looks at you at the same time and realizes you're a fraud? What if the air suddenly becomes heavier and you don't have enough oxygen? He tried hiding under the covers, but the ball did not accept blankets as a valid defense. So, exhausted, he sat up in bed and murmured softly, "I can't do this anymore." And at that very moment, somewhere in the Bureau of Calm, a small bell rang. "Emergency alert in the Department of Unnecessary Panic," announced the head inspector, adjusting his glasses. "Who's on duty?" "Inspector Calm. He's currently having tea." "Perfect. Send him immediately." And, of course, there was no need to send him anywhere. Because as soon as Mr. Wattervigan exhaled, trying to gather his thoughts, there was a knock at the door. A visit from Inspector Calm. The ball of panic froze. Who is that? We're not expecting anyone, which is precisely why it's interesting, muttered Mr. Wattervigan, without quite understanding why, and opened the door. On the doorstep stood Inspector Calm. He wore a neatly pressed grey-blue suit, his glasses sat perfectly straight, and in his hand he held a notebook labelled "Critically Important Questions." "Good morning," he said, flipping open the notebook. "I'm here to conduct a routine inspection of your panic. Please provide documentation." "Excuse me, an inspection of what?" Mr. Wattervigan blinked. "Your panic. Does it have a license to exist?" "A license?" Mr. Wattervigan's panic doubled. It's just always been here." "That's a serious violation," Inspector Calm said sternly, peering into the room. The ball of panic rolled under the bed. "Panic," said the inspector. "Please present official documentation proving your necessity." The ball shrank into itself. "Well then," nodded Inspector Calm, "let's proceed with the standard verification process. First question. What is the immediate threat to the owner's life right now?" Well, the ball stammered. "Something bad will happen." "What exactly?" "Something. I mean, no one can be sure." Inspector Calm scribbled something in his notebook. Second question. How many times in the past has something truly critical happened as a result of your warnings? The ball of panic began sweating. "Well, you see, every time it could have been serious, but I warned in time." "Understood. Final question. If you stopped tying Mr. Wattervigan's hands and feet, what would happen?" The ball trembled like jelly. "Well," it glanced at Mr. Wattervigan, who was now listening very carefully. Maybe he would get out of bed peacefully and drink tea without me and go out into the world without my warnings. And then what? The ball was silent. Mr. Wattervigan took a slow breath. "You're not actually helping me. I thought you were protecting me, but you're just making noise." The ball of panic began shrinking. "But I only wanted to keep you safe." "You were just keeping me from living," Mr. Wattervigan whispered. He took a deep breath, then a slow exhale, and suddenly his hands felt free, his legs stood firm, and his mind was clear for the first time in years. The ball of panic shrunk into a small, harmless marble, something that could simply sit on a shelf. "Well then," Inspector Calm clicked his pen and closed his notebook. "Inspection complete. Congratulations, your panic no longer controls you. It simply exists. But now you decide whether to listen to it." Mr. Wattervigan smiled. The ball of panic huffed indignantly but did not resist. "And now what?" Mr. Wattervigan asked. "Brew some tea and step outside," said Inspector Calm. "Life isn't waiting for you to solve every possible problem first. It's just happening, and that's okay." And for the first time in a very long time, Mr. Wattervigan drank his tea in peace, without getting tangled in the threads of fear. Moral: anxiety cannot predict the future. It only ties you up in thoughts. But you can always check the facts and decide whether to believe it